Welcome, friend, to a quiet passage across the northern waters. A moment to leave the rapid, demanding tides of your day behind, and to settle, instead, into the slow, steady current of the past. Tonight, we journey to a world of silent commerce and methodical administration, to the cold yet strangely comforting shores of the Baltic Sea. We are traveling into the late medieval era to observe a great and often forgotten alliance, the Hanseatic League, or the Hansa. This was not an empire of fire and steel, but one of salt, herring, and quiet agreement. Let your breath slow. Feel the gentle pull and release of your chest, and imagine the cool, clean air filling your lungs. We focus only on the quiet dignity of the merchants and the slow, soothing journey of the ships that carried the very lifeblood of Northern Europe. Close your eyes and let the gentle rocking of the cog carry you into a deep and restful sleep. The Hanseatic League was, at its heart, a great municipal union. Imagine a vast, sprawling network of city-states, perhaps close to 200 towns at its height, stretching from the trading hubs of the Low Countries across the German coastlines and deep into the eastern forests. The foundation of this power was not military might, but a quiet, unified front for secure, predictable trade. The German word Hansa simply meant convoy or guild. These towns agreed to standardize everything: the size of a barrel, the purity of a coin, and the laws governing trade disputes. This quiet structure, this meticulous insistence on order and standardized business practice, is what gave the League its immense, though understated, power. It ensured that commerce flowed smoothly, safely, and, most importantly for our purposes, slowly. This predictability was the greatest guarantee of peace. The core engine of the Hanseatic League was the cog. This was not a vessel of beauty or speed. It was a utilitarian workhorse, stout, broad-beamed, and immensely strong. Imagine its high, rounded hull, often built with overlapping planks, giving it a rough, sturdy texture. It featured a single, towering mast that carried one large, square sail. The cog was built for carrying capacity and stability in the often cold, choppy, and unpredictable North and Baltic seas, not for speed. Its pace was dictated by the prevailing wind and the sheer volume of its cargo. This inherent slowness was part of the system's strength. Cargo was expected to take time, contracts were written for long, steady journeys, and the whole network breathed at this measured, deliberate pace. No rushing, only the steady, inevitable movement of tons of goods across the sea. Life aboard the cog was one of quiet, repetitive maintenance. The crew was small, rarely more than 20 men. Their tasks were cyclical and calm, watching the sail, checking the ropes, and maintaining the hull. The cold, damp air demanded constant vigilance, but never panic. Imagine the gentle sounds of life at sea: the soft slap of water on the hull, the low, steady creak of the timbers as the ship shifts, and the muted sound of the watch talking in low voices, their eyes sweeping the horizon. Meals were simple: hardtack, biscuit, smoked fish, and ale, shared in quiet camaraderie. Evenings were dark, lit only by the soft, contained glow of a lantern. It was a profound existence, defined by the quiet discipline necessary to keep the ship and the cargo safe. What made this great alliance possible? The cargo itself was based on simple, indispensable needs. The holds were often packed with barrels of salt, which was the ultimate currency of preservation in the days before refrigeration. This salt preserved the League's most famous export, herring. Imagine the hold, stacked floor to ceiling with tightly packed wooden barrels, each containing thousands of salted fish caught off the shores of Scania and destined for the fasting tables of Europe during Lent. Beside them lay huge, irregular blocks of beeswax collected from the deep, quiet forests around Novgorod, destined to be melted into candles for churches and homes. The combined scent in the hold would have been a cool, complex mixture of brine, wood, and pure wax, the very scent of slow, medieval wealth. When the cog finally reached a foreign port, like London, Bergen, or the vast eastern outpost of Novgorod, the process was not chaotic unloading. It was quiet, meticulous order maintained by the League's foreign trading posts, called contours. The contour was essentially a fortified economic embassy. It was often a self-contained community of unmarried merchants living together under extremely strict rules to promote sobriety, trust, and standardized business practice. Imagine the main hall, cool, quiet, lined with shelves of ledgers and heavy chests. There was little emotional bargaining, only measured, quiet accounting. This quiet, collective discipline was the guarantee of the Hanse's reliability. The Hanse merchant's life was one of quiet, constant calculation. His most important tool was the ledger, meticulously written in careful Gothic script, documenting every penny, every last of herring, and every measure of wine. Since paper was still expensive, they relied on simple tally sticks, wooden rods notched to record debts and payments, which could be split down the middle to give one half to the debtor and one to the creditor. Imagine the sound of the merchant working late into the evening, the gentle thud of a heavy ledger closing, the soft scrape of a quill pen, or the quiet click of the tally stick being placed back in its drawer. It was a meditative existence where attention to detail was paramount. Accuracy was survival. This quiet, repetitive task of accounting was the true engine of their enduring commercial power. The League was run not by a king or an emperor, but by consensus reached through slow, methodical meetings called the Hanseatic. This was the legislative assembly, usually held in the mother city of Lübeck. Imagine a large, quiet council chamber, heavy with dark timber and the weight of history. Delegates from the member cities sat around a long table. There was no shouting, no dramatic political maneuvers. The process was slow, deliberate, and based entirely on the reading of careful legal texts and precise reports. They discussed standardized tariffs, common shipping regulations, and the joint imposition of blockades. This quiet, meticulous application of bureaucratic law was how the League maintained its vast, non-military control over Northern European commerce. Once the ship arrived and tied up at the quay, the process of unloading was done with the same quiet care. The goods were not simply dumped, they were meticulously inventoried. Everything was checked against the ship's manifest and weighed. Imagine the quay, the gentle creak of the wooden crane, the soft thud of a barrel being lowered onto the cobblestones, and the low, repeated voices of the tally clerks marking the goods. This intense focus on detail ensured that customs could be properly paid and that theft or loss was immediately accounted for. This trust in the system, the standardized weight, the written contract, is what separated the Hanseatic ports from the chaos of more disorganized trading centers.
The Hanseatic League was quietly a monopoly. Its merchants were granted special privileges in foreign ports, often barring locals from direct participation in certain trades. This created a tension, but the League handled it with its signature calm: economic pressure. If a foreign lord or city imposed unfavorable taxes, the Hansa did not declare war. It simply, quietly, voted to divert all trade to another port. Imagine a bustling dock falling silent, the cogs sailing past without stopping. This slow economic strangulation was its most effective weapon, a quiet but utterly devastating form of influence that required only patience and unity. No drama, just a silent, predictable disappearance of goods and coin. The rhythm of the Hanseatic year was ultimately controlled by the climate. When the deep winter set in, the Baltic ports and inland waterways would freeze solid. This brought the entire massive network to a temporary, profound silence. Imagine the ports of Lübeck or Danzig, the cogs hauled up onto the shore or held securely in the thick ice, their sails furled and silent. This forced halt was not a crisis, but a scheduled period of rest. It was the time for quiet accounting, for major hull repairs, for drawing up new contracts, and for the methodical preparation of goods for the spring thaw. The sudden, profound silence of the frozen sea was a time for the League's human element to rest and reset, ready for the cycle to begin again. When Hansa merchants gathered socially, they did so in their guild halls or schuttings. Even their leisure time was characterized by quiet propriety and order. Imagine a large, timbered room, sparsely decorated, focusing entirely on a long communal table. Rules were strict: no loud quarrels, no excessive drinking, and absolutely no gambling. The focus was on the simple meal and the quiet, sober conversation about market conditions. This structure reinforced the League's core values: trust, honesty, and personal discipline. The quiet dignity of their social gatherings was a direct reflection of the quiet reliability of their trade. The long, slow decline of the Hanseatic League was not a moment of sudden collapse, but a gentle sunset. It was caused by the very thing it stood for: better administration. New forms of record-keeping, like double-entry bookkeeping, and the increasing use of cheaper, more available paper, made the League's old system of shared contours and strict centralized control less necessary. Furthermore, the slow, reliable cog was gradually superseded by faster, more maneuverable ships better suited for the Atlantic trade routes that opened later. The League's great virtue, its slow, rigid adherence to tradition, became its gentle, quiet downfall. It was a history that ended not with a shout, but with a barely audible whisper of obsolete accounting methods and out-of-date ship designs. Despite its eventual end, the legacy of the Hanseatic League is one of profound, quiet influence. It demonstrated that immense power could be generated and sustained not through violent coercion, but through cooperation, standardized contracts, and the quiet insistence on economic stability. They pioneered the modern principles of international law, trade standards, and even the concept of a unified economic zone. The history of the Hansa is the history of systems working, of predictable logistics, and of the profound importance of boring, reliable administration.
It is a quiet testament to the enduring power of merchants and the simple, enduring human need for salt, for security, and for order. And so our long, slow journey across the tranquil Baltic waters ends. We leave the cool, meticulously organized world of the Hanseatic League and the steady, honest sail of the Cog. Let the quiet rhythm of the sea, the soft sigh of the northern air, and the gentle creak of the rigging remain in your awareness. Feel the deep, quiet strength of the wooden hull beneath your feet, the cool air on your skin, and the comforting knowledge that the cargo is safe, the contracts are honored, and the day's journey is complete. The slow, methodical pace of the Hansa, the quiet hum of administration, the enduring peace of the disciplined merchant, these are the soothing anchors of our tale tonight. Close your eyes, release any lingering tension. You are sailing slowly, safely into the heart of the night. Let the gentle rocking of the sturdy cog carry you deeper and deeper into a restful and profound sleep.